What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, Duel commentary. We have Moonlight Fantasy. Okay, Moonlight Fantasy versus Rockstar. 1300 versus 1269. Okay, so as soon as I saw this match, all I saw was the Volvo chain on field, and then he activated Soul Charge, got two Dreadmasters, Plague Spreader, and Malicious. I was like, okay, some hype shit's about to happen. I mean, I've never seen two Dreadmasters or two Dreadmasters on the field at the same time. Kind of surprised he doesn't make Spark Dragon instead, but I mean, okay, whatever. It's pretty much going to be the same thing. So right now, Moonlight has an incredible field, and it looks like he's going even further. I guess that was his first Malicious, or his second Malicious. He still has one more because the card's at 3 for some reason. No, you know, I can't hate on Malicious being at 3. I love that card. So it looks like he's going for another level 8. I'm thinking, okay, he goes for Void Ogre Dragon. Holy fucking cow, look at that field. He's got Stardust, Felgrand, Lavable Chain, and Void Ogre Dragon. That is raw as fuck. I mean, you're talking about negation upon negation. Like, he has racks on racks on racks of negation here. It's going to be really hard to crack this board, even with 6 cards. So, I mean, you talk about a power play for your opening hand. That was incredible. He plays Upstart Goblin. Yeah, you might as well just you just paid 4,000 life points for Soul Charge. Why not get another 1,000? And his opponent is looking to wall up. Now, I guess it's good because he has Stardust, and Stardust can be used in the damage step in case he attacks a hand monster. It looks like I was thinking maybe he would activate Lavable Chain, but I'm really not certain what else in his deck he'd want to send. He could put something on top of his deck. Well, regardless, it looks like he's going to trigger Lavable Chain, and this time, what is he going to search? I feel like Felgrand is a good card. I feel like it's much better during your opponent's turn than it is on your turn. And I really can't think of anything that this face down could be. Just the monster. I'm just talking about the monster, not the back row. I'm trying to think of something that this could be outside of like Penguin Soldier that could really, like, you know, hurt him. You know what I mean? Even if it was like the Tit, you know, Fossil Dyna, you could just negate it with Stardust. So that's no good. Now, as far as cards that I would want to send to cards I would want to, well, monsters I'd want to send straight to the graveyard in this deck. Honestly, I guess anything that I wouldn't want to draw. You know what I mean? Like, there's, okay, so he decides to send Genzo to the graveyard. He puts Void Ogre Dragon in attack mode. Why not? I mean, you could just try and like game your opponent. I think he should have attacked with Stardust first. He attacks in the Geargia armor, and Geargia armor is going to flip. I actually thought about Geargia Armor as a card. I was like, even if it's Geargia Armor, he gets an accelerator. That's cool, but he still has to go for the Exceed to do anything. And to be honest, if he makes 1-on-1, 1-on-1's not gonna win him the game. So you see that Moonlight is, well, he's 700 short of getting game. If he would have attacked with Stardust, he would have had 300 more, so his opponent would have been at 400, but that's inconsequential. It's irrelevant. Now, what's good is he did hypothetically get him out of Soul Charge range, so if Rockstar has Soul Charge, if he's playing that, it's officially a dead card. He can't even activate it. And, I mean, you look at his field, he has 1 negate, potentially 2 negates, potentially 3 negates. So, this is looking really, really good. I would say if my opponent activated, like, okay, if they activated Duality, which Geargia don't play, I'd let that go. However, if he activated another Upstart, I'd probably negate it. Although you might have to wait because these face downs could be like breakthrough skills, and that's something you definitely want to negate. So I guess you just want to, you know, save that. I mean, he might. I think he's playing it safe. For the most part, you can look at a card like Felgrand, right? And you can say, okay, if you try and make 101 or Gear Giant X, or I'd probably let Gear Giant X go. Okay, so he activates the Luminescent Knight. Then he activates Mind Control on Void Ogre Dragon. And Void Ogre Dragon doesn't target a Speller Trap. Yeah, you can just negate it. That's what I would do. He activates Geargia Gear. And he had to use Void Ogre Dragon, unfortunately, because if he didn't use Void Ogre Dragon, his opponent was going to steal Void Ogre Dragon's effect. So it's like, use it or lose it at that point. He goes Geargia Gear. And if Moonlight has any decent traps here, he can just win. Because obviously Felgrand does target one card on the field. Thus, this guy would be able to change its target to something else. And that's no good. But what XC can he really make here? I mean, I'm not even concerned. I'm concerned about the life points. And then I'm a little concerned that a Luminescent Knight can't attack over anything. The Lavalval Chain is inconsequential. It does not matter if he loses the Lavalval Chain during this duel. It's not going to matter. The Lavalval Chain has already done its job by, well, I mean, it either sent Malicious to the graveyard or it sent Plague Spreader to the graveyard or something. That doesn't really matter. So, one-on-one doesn't get the job done because you, like, I guess you one-on-one Felgrand and then he just attacks next turn and you lose. You know, you can't exit time because Stardust will just be like, nope. And Stardust doesn't target either, so. Alright, he goes Gear Giant X. I imagine you go Gear Giant X in defense because not only when it dies does it pay for itself, but, you know, it can get you an accelerator so that you can go into, or it gets the accelerator right back so that you can go into this Exceed using this MK2 for free. So, like, even if your opponent stops the second Exceed you're making, you still got Gear Giant X. You still got him essentially for free. And when your opponent goes into battle phase, he's a chump blocker. He'll take an attack, and then the MK2 will come out, and the MK2 will take an attack too. So it's like, at least you don't lose. Now, it's good to see that he got his 1-for-1 on Void Ogre Dragon. I think Rockstar has some decisions to make. I think he does. I mean, I believe he normal summoned the Geargia armor, right? Yeah, he had the normal summon armor because his armor got attacked over last turn. So he's already committed his normal summon. So to me, the only legitimate target you're going to take, unless you think you can, if you think you can survive this, it changes, is Geargia Accelerator. Because Geargia Accelerator lets you go straight into another Exceed. Now, looks like he's going to do that. He's going to special that Geargia Accelerator. I mean, he could just wall up and just leave him as, you know, like leave that guy as a chump blocker. I don't know. Okay, so he goes into 101. And he's going to use 101's effect, targeting what? He targets Void Ogre Dragon. I'd still use, well, I'm trying to think if I would use Felgrand to make your opponent bait out a Luminescent Knight. I'm not even certain that you have to, because I think you can just attack over this motherfucker next turn. Alright, so he says, I'll give you the Void Ogre Dragon. He enters battle phase, kills the Lavalval Chain. Main phase 2, he'll probably just set one, and then he passes back to Moonlight. Alright, so Moonlight Fantasy is drawing a card. And I wonder if he considered putting a card on top of his deck. I think he has way too many darks for a card like a Dark Arm Dragon. So that's unfortunate. But I'm not sure. It's such a combo-oriented deck. If he plays Phantom of Chaos, that would have been a really good pick. Now, it looks like he's going to attack with Felgrand over a Luminescent Knight. You know what's funny? No, I was thinking if he would have did that, if he would have attacked with Stardust earlier in the duel, if he would have attacked with the Stardust instead of the Felgrand, if he would have won here, I think his opponent would have 50 life points right now, so he technically would not have won. So he kills the Luminescent Knight, and his Felgrand is live again. And again, he still has the Stardust, and what's worse is his opponent has already committed his 101. So at this point, it's like, if you're playing just straight Geargia, I feel like you're a little on borrowed time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can use Geargiano, and that's cute and everything, and you can get back Accelerator or Armor or whatever. You can exceed summon all you want, but really, do you have anything that can kill this or this? Like, that's really what it boils down to, and I think the answer is no, because you've already used essentially your game-changing card, that being 101. You know what I mean? I know the Geargia extra deck, for the most part. They don't run a lot of beat sticks, so it's going to be hard to get over Stardust, let alone this motherfucker. And, I mean, yeah, they got stuff like Exiton Knight and Diamond Direwolf. None of those stop Stardust. So, it's, you know, it's like not going to happen. I mean, right now, if you know, the 2 cards that he has can stop both of those that I named, but maybe if he had only one of them on board, it still would look bleak to me. Unless, like, the only other option is if he only had Stardust, then he could go into, like, Gem Knight Pearl, which they don't even run, and, like, attack. So, you see he's going into Daigusto Emerald. That tells me that you probably are desperate. What face down cards could he be sitting on the entire time? Unless they're, like, wiretaps. Yeah, I would negate that. Because if you have a breakthrough skill set, I feel like you would have already used it on my Void or Dragon. So I see like no downside into using it on Daigusto Emerald. Clearly, these are not attack stopping cards. I mean, one of these realistically has to be a wiretap. So Stardust attacks 101, and then Felgrand attacks Daigusto Emerald. And you see, slowly but surely, he pretty much built that advantage back. And I say that because if you don't have any more rank 4s in your deck that can beat that field of Felgrand and Stardust, might as well just scoop it up. And after using 101, Rockstar didn't really have any. He didn't have any guns left in the chamber. You know what I mean? All the XCs that he could go into, you see that he went into Daigusto Emerald in defense, and you know that told me alone that you're digging for a power card. You're digging for, you know, maybe the D prison that you run or something like that, or you know, I really can't think of a card that was going to get him back in the game. You know, not with the life points that he had, not knowing that his 101 was just sitting there doing nothing. I mean, it was stopping attacks, but just in general, I didn't really see it doing anything else. Like, it had served its purpose, taking out Void Ogre Dragon. You can't ask more. You can't ask more than that from a 101. As far as I'm concerned, 101 did its job. So game 2, I would say obviously Geargia has a huge advantage going first. Not only did they get the setup potentially with Geargia Armor, but I mean it's just a more consistent deck. It's the best deck of the format. So giving the best deck of the format turn 1 obviously makes it just that much more potent. And it's a deck where it plays a ton of back row. So if I was Moonlight Fantasy, I don't know if he runs Night Beams. I would highly consider them, because I feel like if he can go off, there's nothing that Rockstar can do to stop him. You know what I mean? I feel like Rockstar is going to rely on his back row more than his monsters. You know, that might be Geargia Armor, but the back row fight, when he probably sets 4 or 5, okay, he goes 3 minimal with Geargia. That sounds crazy, right? That 3 is minimal. I feel like the 3 set are really what's going to win him or lose him this game. Alright, so Moonlight Fantasy opens up with a trade-in that he trades in Dreadmaster. I guess that's how he got those Dreadmasters in the graveyard in the first game. I wonder if he plays Plasma too. Alright, so he discards Dreadmaster to summon Dark Refer, and then he activates Reinforcements of the Army. Yeah, I really do wonder if he plays Phantom of Chaos in this deck. And you know what? That's remembered. That takes me back. I remember when I played Diamond Trade Turbo in a regional. It was at the beginning of Phantom Darkness, right? And the deck was just so nasty. I wouldn't recommend Dreadmaster. I would play Plasma, and I say that because, well, Plasma and Dreadmaster, they work the same. You can de-draw both of them. You can trade them both in. But the difference is, okay, and you see Diamond Dude misses. He's going Exiton Knight. Yep. I mean, that was obvious. You go for the Gusto on that. And if you got Soul Charge, you try and Exciton Knight a second time. But what I was saying about Plasma is you could a lot of times in my Diamond Trade Turbo. Oh wow, he does have Soul Charge. I used to and he's going for 4. Wow. Okay, so that might be the difference. I don't think you can Soul Charge. I don't think you can Soul Charge. What's it called? If this card was special summoned by Clock Tower. Oh, okay. That's my mistake. That's why. He does play Phantom of Chaos. That's awesome. That's awesome. What I used to do in my Diamond Trade Turbo is after I got Plasma in the graveyard, I used to copy it with Phantom of Chaos, and I used to take my opponent's monsters. It was so awesome. But I'm guessing the reason that he plays Dreadmaster over a card like plays Dreadmaster over a card like man, it escapes me. Plasma is because that you can Soul Charge it back, and right now Soul Charge is such an important part of the meta. So that does make perfect sense. With Plasma, I believe the only way you can actually summon it is by doing the whole 3 tribute things. So in Diamond Dude Turbo, it used to work because I used to be like I used to use Dimension Fusion, and then like every so often I could actually I could get its effect. You know what I mean? So after summoning Felgrand, he goes Lavalval Chain. He's going to activate its effect. At this point, it's kind of a toss-up what he's going to do. Alright, so he puts Monk in the graveyard. Yo, he might have Dark Arm Dragon. Oh, he's putting Monk on top. I was like, does he have 3 Darks in grave? Because that Dark Arm Dragon would be real as fuck. And that was a pretty nice play. I mean, he went for the Exciton Knight play, the obvious play, and he recovered. So, alright, Geargia Armor is flipped. I think you're in a tough bind here if you're Moonlight Fantasy, because you know that your Lavalval Chain is probably going to die if you give the Geargia player the armor effect. But then if you negate armor and they have like another Geargia in hand or Geargia gear, then you lose your guy to a 1-on-1 and you lose this in the process. So you lose your entire board. So he makes Gear Giant X. Gear Giant X will just run this over. I mean, that's a given. Gear Giant X activates its effect. And maybe MK2? MK2 wouldn't be bad here. Make like Tim Tempo and force your opponent to negate with Felgrand. You could have Tim Tempo. Yeah, you could make Tim Tempo and make Tim Tempo eat up all the Felgrand negates. That'd be awesome. So Geargiano comes down. It's going to tribute itself. Probably for... Okay, I guess it's not. Then Accelerator comes down. I thought Geargiano was going to tribute itself for either Armor or Accelerator. Probably Accelerator. Wait, no, I guess there's no difference. I was thinking if you get Torrential, you want Accelerator, but he has no back row, so it doesn't make a difference. Then he goes into another Xyz. I think he's going to get another Gear Giant X. I think he's going to try and make as many Gear Giant X's as possible, so he can just keep using them as chump blockers. Although, again... Okay, so he goes for the 1-on-1. And 1-on-1 activates effect. And Felgrand obviously will negate. And it gets hit with Phoenix Chain. And that should be a wrap. That's unfortunate that he did have the Phoenix Chain. Which means that the entire time it didn't really matter what Moonlight Fantasy did. If he tried to negate the armor, if he didn't. He was in a bad situation to begin with. So it looks like he takes both of the attacks. And okay. Rockstar sets another card in his back row. And play is going to be the Moonlight Fantasy, who we already know has he's drawing Summoner Monk, so he summons Monk. I don't know why, I got something in my throat. He discards Enter the Void, and he's going to try and activate the effect. I think he might go Diamond Dude and try and like Exciton Knight the field. Because I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think what other, like what else really makes a lot of sense. Diamond Dude makes a ton of sense. Just because you could potentially +1 if you're going... Okay, I was thinking Phantom of kind of makes sense too, because you still get the Exciton play. Actually, did he use Diamond Dude this game? Because he could copy Diamond Dude. I used to do that a lot in my Diamond Trade Turbo. I used to summon Phantom of Chaos. I'd copy Diamond Dude, activate its effect. I used to copy Diamond Dude. That's what he's doing. He's copying Diamond Dude. I used to copy Diamond Dude. Oh, he misses. MST. I used to copy Diamond Dude. I used to copy Plasma. Those were the main. Sometimes I would copy Genzo and just leave him on board and then go Dimension Fusion so that my opponent couldn't use traps. I would copy DDM. That was pretty cool too. He's going for Exciton Knight. Oh no! What? That is a shocker. I guess he just wants to get Gear Giant X off board. It just seems like his opponent has way more cards than he does, so I don't know if he plans on winning through advantage. Like, usually when you're that far down in advantage, you try an Exciton Knight. Like, you could clear the board with Exciton, right? And then this would obviously live, and your opponent's Gear Giant X would kick in, and then you could Exciton Knight again. And yeah, I think he should have went for Exciton Knight. That play that he made with, unless he only runs one, but in a deck like his, I would highly suggest running 2 Exciton Knights. Like in a deck where you have really easy access to Xyz, level 4s, make sure that you run 2 Exciton Knight, people. If you're running Monk, like a general rule of thought right now is if you're running Monk, you should run 2 Excitons, because Monk is an instant Exciton. I mean, even Evil Swarm run 2 Excitons, obviously, because, you know, it works with the pandemic virus and Kirkion and shit, but I feel like his deck should run multiple copies of Exciton, because you got to think, if he would have Exciton Knighted the field right there, he may have been able to win the game, you know what I mean? If that other backer was like a wiretap or something, he loses Geargia Gear, he loses Gear Giant X. Sure that Sure 101's still gonna live, but all he has to do is just activate the effect again, because he still would have had, his opponent would have still had 3 cards. He would have had D-Draw on Malicious. He would have had the Gear Giant X, whatever card that got back, 101 and 1 in hand, so he could have activated it again. So Moonlight Fantasy activates Destiny Draw, pitching Malicious. Oh, he drew another Malicious. That bites. And he normal summoned Greffa, pitching the Malicious. That's going to use, or that's going to get Plague Spreader to the graveyard. He then activates the Lord of Darkness. I think he's trying to get as many darks as he can in the graveyard. I mean, obviously he has access to an Xyz here, but the problem is he might have to use a ton of cards to get to that Xyz. He banishes Phantom of Chaos. I think, okay, so he soul charges. Well, you know what? That's one way to fix that. And I guess Rockstar is going to maxi him. Should have at least waited for him to announce his targets. And here's the question. How many cards do you want to give your opponent? If I was Moonlight Fantasy and I was going first, I think the only things that I would have sided in was 3 Black Horns. Because if you make something like Bells, how the fuck does Geargia kill it outside of 101? They can't kill it. You know what I mean? Like, you literally can't kill that fucking card. Well, I guess you can Phoenix Chain it. Yeah, you can Phoenix Chain it, and then, you know, what's it called? Alright, so he's going to make a Synchro. I think if he has no hand, then he'll make Void Ogre Dragon. But if he does have a hand, he might make something different. And it sucks that he got Max Seed there, because I think that he was going to go all in if he didn't get Max Seed. I mean, clearly, I think he would have gotten both Maliciouses. That's a given. I think he would have used Plague Spreader twice, and may have even tried to Xyz using Greffer. I don't know. Alright, so he gets Bells in defense. That gets Rockstar a draw, and then he passes turn. So right now, all he's really trying to avoid is Phoenix Chain. You know what I mean? Like Phoenix Chain, and even if he has Phoenix Chain, he still has to Xyz or use Dark Hole to kill it. So you see he goes for, well, I guess he could Diamond Direwolf it after Phoenix Chaining it. He summons Geargia Arsenal, and he's going to activate the effect. And that gets him Geargiano, which makes me think that he's going to go for Gear Giant X. He activates Geargiano's effect. And that puts Geargia Arsenal back on board in defense. He goes for Accelerator. I don't know why I keep having to clear my throat. I cannot get that mucus out of my throat. And now he's going to exceed, I imagine, for Gear Giant X. Yep. Gear Giant X comes down. I would strongly consider getting MK2. Okay, he just gets Accelerator. And he's going to attack Dark Greffer. Dark Greffer dies. And he still has 6 cards. That's incredible. 1, 2 are set. And you wonder how long Moonlight will just keep Bells in defense. Anyways, he's gonna banish Malicious. And that gets him a second Malicious. And I don't think you'll see Bells hit. I don't think you'll see Bells go to attack mode until, oh shiest, Dark Arm Dragon. That changes everything. If Dark Arm Dragon gets his effect off, he'll probably win this turn. Dark Arm Dragon is way too strong of a card. Oh Lord, D-Prison, please don't tell me you have 2 reactive cards. Don't be, oh my god, I was thinking, why are you playing Wiretap against this deck that clearly has no interest in using traps? It doesn't want to use traps. And you're now going to see a Synchro. I don't know what for, but that fucking Gear Giant X is going to get blown up. I think that Moonlight is going to try and do as much damage as possible here. You can pretty much guarantee that. By the way, also realize he has not used his normal summon yet. He goes for Spark Dragon. I'm trying to think of what other 8s would have made a whole bunch of sense. He banishes his Malicious to blow up Gear Giant X. Out should come Geargiano. And out does come Geargiano. He attacks with Stardust, and then he attacks for 5,800. And it sucks that he still has to have 2 cards in hand, because obviously the one-on-one threat is, I mean, it's there. But you have to think, I know I should have kept Scrap Dragon in there. Yeah, because I guess you could have targeted Bells, and you could have just won actually. Yeah, Dark Arm could have popped, and then you could have played Scrap Dragon, target Bells, target Gear Giant X, and then you just OTK. But I wonder if these have to be hand traps. Like, what bad monsters could he potentially? I mean, did he draw like double Dreadmaster or something? Because he didn't even normal summon, so it's not like he even has like a Destiny Hero, Diamond Dude in his hand. Like, these have to be like Dreadmaster, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else is that bad. If this is like a Maxi, okay, that's legitimate, because your opponent clearly is going to have to make some type of XC here. I mean, that's just my 2 cents. Bells clearly is, I mean, he's putting in work. Your opponent has no chance of using Fiendish Chain effectively this game, because, well, they'd have to draw it now and then activate it, but, you know, he essentially put Rockstar on the clock saying, hey, look, you had better try to fight back this turn. Otherwise, I'm just going to kill you. You see that he goes for, well, he normal summoned Geargia Armor, and then he went into Geargia Accelerator. You know what? He could make Exciton Knight, but that wouldn't kill Bells or Stardust Dragon. So, yeah, okay. He's not going to go Exciton Knight. That doesn't make sense. Okay, he does go Exciton Knight. The only thing that's going to do is kill Dark Arm Dragon. I hope he knows that. Well, no, it's once per turn, so... Okay, so Spark Dragon is going to protect what? Okay, it protects Dark Arm. Yeah, actually, that's what I was realizing. Now that you've Exciton Knighted, you killed Spark Dragon. Actually, I would have probably left Spark Dragon and not Dark Arm, but that's just me. Yeah, I think that was stupid to keep Dark Arm, because Spark Dragon, like when you go to attack, Spark Dragon could have protected itself. It could have protected itself again. Unless you feel like you have some way of getting another Dark in the graveyard and you just pop his ass. But no, why did you take Dark Arm? Okay, well, it doesn't matter because Rockstar scoops it up. He has Dark Creator. He drew double Dark Creator. Holy cow, that's bad. But I think he should have kept Spark Dragon because if he was going to attack, let's say he would have used Exciton Knight, Dark Arm Dragon would have died, although Bells wouldn't have. But if he would have kept Spark Dragon, obviously he would have just been able to use Spark Dragon's effect on itself, and he could have killed Exciton and just attacked for game. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching, as always.